So hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Interactive Education, and today we will be taking up some revision of the chapters and of the science portion, as you have an examination tomorrow, and I hope you'll all do really well in that exam which is tomorrow. I wish you all the best for that examination. I'll be taking up all your doubts one by one. Just give me some time. But I really want to go over the course and the paper pattern first once before we start. So let's just go over the paper pattern. The paper will have two sections, section A and section B. Section A will have four categories of questions. You will have 1 mark questions, you will have 2 mark questions, 3 mark questions, and 5 mark questions. There will be three questions of 1 mark, which are to be answered in only one word or sentence. You can write as long as you want, but that will just be a waste of time. You can answer it in simple one word or sentence. There will be 2 mark questions there'll be 3 questions of 2 marks. Pretty straightforward, pretty understood, not much of a problem. Then 3 mark questions will be 12. There will be 12 questions of 3 marks. Very, very important. Please be careful. There will be one straight question of 3 marks. You need to answer that, and there will be 12 questions as such, like that. And then finally, there are going to be 5 mark questions. There are going to be 6 such questions, and they are always going to be in parts. They will never be questions that, they're in sections or as such. They'll always be in parts. So please be careful of that, right? They'll be in parts. You need to answer each of those parts. We now come to the section B of the paper, and this is going to be a practical part of the paper. It's going to be based on your practical record and your practical activities. There'll be 1 mark MCQs, and there'll be 9 such MCQs. There are going to be 2 mark questions, and there are going to be 3 such questions, one each from physics, chemistry, and biology. So that's going to be your order. That's going to be how your paper is going to work. Now, some of my tips for you are that you need to keep calm and you need to concentrate on the paper. Please don't think of other things while you're writing the paper. That is a big mistake. You need to keep calm, concentrate on the paper, finish off the paper, and keep calm and do the paper. There's no pressure on you. It's not the end of the world. You need to be calm and give the paper. Next is you need to draw neat and labeled diagrams. Very, very important. Right? It's very crucial that you write neat and labeled diagrams. Your diagrams need to be clear, concise, and well drawn and well labeled. They need to be neat. So please, please, please draw well labeled diagrams. Right? The next tip I want to give you, okay, is that please revise your paper. If you don't revise the paper, please try your best to keep some time at the end to revise your paper. If you don't revise your paper, there will be problems. You need to revise your paper because there are chances that you're going to make silly mistakes. Please revise your paper. Try to keep time at the end to revise your paper. Okay, and please try to keep it neat. Your paper should be neat because there's something called examiner psychology which you need to understand. And I'm really, really sorry, Ritik, but I think the video is going perfect. I think there's some problem in your internet connection. So I'm really sorry about that. So these are some of my tips, and this is the pattern which I have given for the paper. Now I'm going to go over doubts, right? I'm going to go over doubts. Is the video not coming? Because I'm streaming it, it's working fine. It should be working fine. So basically this is the pattern for the paper, and these are some tips which I have given for the paper. Okay, these are some tips which I have given for the paper, right? So next thing which you are going to address are the doubts. Now there are some doubts that some people have in this, so I'm just going to address those doubts now, right? So one doubt was from Ritik, and he said that can we get the male and reproductive organs for the paper? Can we get male and reproductive parts for human beings to draw? Well, the male reproductive part male reproductive organ and female reproductive organs. Now, I just want to go over a basic, what has been going on for these many years. So I'll just try to explain that to you. Male reproductive organs have not come for the past 9 years. As far as I'm concerned, since the CCE system has started, they have never asked the male reproductive organs. Okay, never. They have never asked the male reproductive organs. This is what many teachers have told me. This is what many teachers have told me, that male reproductive organs have hardly come. So please, male reproductive organ, go through it. I'm not saying it is important. All of them are important, but they have not come for many years. But please, as I say again and again, CBSE is a very unpredictable organization. Please go over male reproductive also. Female, on the other hand, has been asked many times. So please, female, you should be perfect at drawing, because it has been asked several times. Several times it has been asked. Male reproductive organs, you need to, it's okay, but please go over it as well. Don't skip anything. Now, other than that, Sizomi had a doubt in refractive index, which I'll take up just now. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to take up is refractive index. Some people had a doubt in refractive index. Many people have a doubt in refractive index. That's why I'm going to take up refractive index now. Okay. Bazinga Punk, I'll take your doubt. I'll take your lab manual. Don't worry. I'll take up lab manual also. Now, refractive index. Refractive index again is of two kinds, as I have said before, and I'm saying again. There are two kinds of refractive index. You have absolute refractive index and you have relative refractive index. Okay. You have absolute refractive index and you have relative refractive index. Refractive index is denoted by mu. In your textbook, it is denoted by n. That is also perfectly fine. In Greek letter and in proper physics notation, we denote it as mu. Mu is a Greek letter. Now, absolute refractive index, basically, the concept of absolute refractive index. Absolute refractive index is basically defined as, of a medium, absolute refractive index of a medium is defined as the ratio between the speed of light in vacuum to the speed of light in medium. So C is speed of light in vacuum. In air also it is called, same thing, because speed of light in air and vacuum is almost the same. And V is speed of light in the medium. Right? So that is your relative absolute refractive index, right? Very, very important. The definition is important. Formula is important. Please be clear with this formula. The next thing is, and value of C, there is a constant value of C, which is very, 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 very important. Okay, very, very important. C value is a constant. It is 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. Now, this is variable. Sometimes it's 2.77, 2.87, 2.97, but it varies. But the fixed and, very, very approximate value is 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. Although in your question, you will always be given the definition. You will always be given what's the value. But in case you are not given, just take it. 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. You should remember it. Relative refractive index, on the other hand, is nothing but the ratio between refractive indices of two mediums. So if you have mu1 by mu2, that means relative refractive index of medium 1 with respect to 2. This is medium 1 with respect to 2. Medium 1 with respect to 2, medium 1 by medium 2. Medium 2 with respect to 1, medium 2 by medium 1. So again, whatever comes first comes in the numerator, whatever comes last comes in the denominator. Now its relation with speed. So mu of 1 to 2, 1 with respect to 2 is mu 1 by mu 2. Now substitute this mu with their absolute refractive index formula. So that will be C by V1, that is C by speed of light in V1, speed of light in medium 1 by C by V2, speed of light in medium 2. Now here C and C will get cancelled, and again this is 1 by V1 by 1 by V2. So these two will go, this will go to numerator, this will come to denominator, you get V2 by V1. Right? That's it. Pretty simple. Right? So this is how relative refractive index can be equated to your speed. So mu of 1 to 2 is V2 by V1. So similarly, mu of 2 to 1 will be V1 by V2. V1 by V2. Clear? I hope that's absolutely clear. Speed and refractive index relation. And you can remember one more thing for me, okay? Mu, that is refractive index, is inversely proportional to the speed. Again, important. Refractive index is always inversely proportional to speed. That means if speed will increase, that means the refractive index is less. And if the refractive index is more, that means speed is less. Right? Speed of light is less. So that is the relation between refractive index and speed. And I've also explained relative refractive index and the relation of relative refractive index with speed. So I hope that's clear. Sizomi had asked me this doubt. I hope it's clear. Absolutely clear for her. Right? Now, Bazinga Punk, I will take your doubt in the end because it's long, because lab manual I'll take in the end because there are some people asking some theory doubts also. So next, Mr. Spartan has asked lab manual and explain Charles Darwin theory of evolution. Okay. Now, basically in our 10th standard course, evolution theory is very basic. Okay, the evolution theory or the theory of evolution proposed by Charles Darwin is very, very basic. Right, we have been told what is natural selection, we have been told what is genetic drift, we have been told what is geographical isolation, vagara vagara, speciation we have been told. We have not discussed in detail. About evolution theory. Actually, Charles Darwin proposed the theory of evolution. Okay, Charles Darwin proposed the theory of evolution in his book, The Origin of the Species. Okay, in his book, The Origin of the Species, he wrote this book in 1859. So in this book, he explained about the evolution theory, the theory of evolution of human beings, in which he explained many factors which influenced evolution. He explained mutation. He explained migration. He explained natural selection. Okay. He explained also genetic drift. He also explained sexual selection. He explained gene flow. So he explained many things in this book and in his theory of evolution. But these things are not there in our 10th standard course, right? So don't worry much about them, right? As per us, Charles Darwin's theory of evolution is revolving around natural selection. That's it. So if you can explain natural selection, you can explain his theory. Because as per NCERT class 10, we have very basic evolution. We don't have so much detail in evolution. Right? So I hope, Mr. Spartan, that's clear. When you get this question of Darwinism or Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, just explain that Charles Darwin's theory of evolution is the theory of natural selection, where he says that traits or organisms with traits that are favorable to a changing environment are selected by nature to survive, whereas the other traits which are unfavorable will perish. So this is the evolution theory, and with the effects of natural selection, genetic drift and other factors, speciation takes place. Organisms acquire gradual changes over time and they acquire different traits, different characteristics which enables them to survive better in a changing environment. That is Darwin's theory of natural selection or Darwin's theory of evolution. Right? So Mr. Spartan, I hope that's clear for you. Any kind of doubt you may have? Right? So because mutation, migration, all is involved in his theory, which is not there in 10th standard. So please don't worry much about that, right? Wow, very good. Let's now move on to Yash Karapurkar's doubt, who has asked me explain reproductive isolation and geographical isolation. So again, as I've told this is in speciation also. And when I was explaining heredity evolution revision series, I addressed this as well. That basically geographical isolation and reproductive isolation are two factors that affect speciation, right? Formation of a new species from an existing species. These two are some factors which affect. These two are the factors. They are two of the factors that affect speciation. Now, geographical isolation is basically, it is a It is a way, it is a phenomenon in which a geographical barrier, okay, a geographical barrier is created. Now, basically what happens, a geographical barrier is created between two subpopulations of one single species. So for example, if you have a group of organisms here and you have a group of organisms here, suppose this is group of organisms A, this is group of organisms B. Now these two are of the same species. Assume that here A and B are of the same species. So basically a geographical barrier is created. Suppose maybe a river or a mountain, something separates. Suppose a geographical barrier is created. Maybe a river or a mountain. Okay, that gets created between these two populations and they get separated because of this. So when they get separated because of this, right, this separates these two populations although they are of the same species. Now, what happens? The organisms here in A will not be able to reproduce with organisms in B and vice versa. These two subpopulations will not be able to reproduce. Right? These two subpopulations will be unable to reproduce. They can no longer reproduce within themselves. Right? So since they cannot reproduce amongst themselves, they'll be forced to reproduce amongst their own populations. And as a result, there will be variation accumulation, right? During reproduction, variations accumulate. So variation accumulation will take place in these two populations. Gradually, variations will keep accumulating. And there will be a point when these two subpopulations will be so different from each other because of accumulation of natural selection, because of accumulation of variations and natural selection, etc., etc. They'll become so different from each other that they'll be unable to reproduce amongst themselves. They'll be so different from each other that they can't reproduce amongst themselves. There'll be very significant changes in their internal body structure and genetic composition, such as chromosome number, DNA structure. All these will undergo variations, will undergo changes, and as a result, they cannot reproduce amongst themselves. This is how geographical isolation takes place, which will result in the formation of a new species. Right? So I hope that's clear. Whoever asked this, who asked this? Yash asked this. So Yash, I hope geographical isolation is clear to you. Right? Now, as far as reproductive isolation is concerned, reproductive isolation. So basically, again, geographical isolation can lead to reproductive isolation also, right? It's because geographical isolation is taking place, they can't reproduce amongst themselves. So it's in one way, reproductive isolation is taking place. Now, if you talk about reproductive isolation as such, it can be because of geographical isolation. It can be because of certain behavioral factors also. For example, a female beetle. Let's assume that a female beetle is there. Okay, female beetle. And she has this particular color with the ink I'm drawing. Okay, so she has this color, female beetle. Now she enters into a population of these color beetles, yellow color. So she has a tendency to reproduce with only the male beetles of her own kind. Okay? Okay? Only the male beetles of her own kind. So if she, because of some particular gene flow or something, enters into another population of this colored beetles, these are all some male beetles of some certain color, right? Now she'll enter into this population of this color of male beetles. Now her behavior will be such that reproduction will not occur, right? Now for reproduction to take place, there needs to be mating, there needs to be copulation, there needs to be proper interaction between organisms. Now if no interaction will take place, the female's behavior will be such that no interaction will take place. She will control her behavior. So because of this, reproduction cannot occur between these two. Hence, again, this is an example of reproductive isolation. That isolation of the reproduction process because of certain behavioral factors which have been explained here. That the female's behavior will be such that they will not reproduce. right? So that is called reproductive isolation. Reproductive isolation can also be when they are unable to reproduce because of certain factors. Here they are geographical factors, here they are behavioral factors, right? So I hope that's absolutely clear. I think Yash asked this. I think Yash, your doubt should be clear now. Both have been explained, right? I've tried my best to explain it. I know I'm not a good teacher, but I've tried my best, right? So let's move on to the next doubts. I have many doubts today. Well, I'm glad so many people have asked doubts. Sign convention in mirror and lens. Okay, I'll explain that. Then genetic drift, random changes in frequency of genes in population of successive generations due to sampling errors in gametes is called genetic drift. No, Bazinga Pug, that's not genetic drift. I'll tell you what genetic drift is. It's not because of successive variations. Please. Okay, I'll tell you what genetic drift is. Now, genetic drift. Okay, what happens basically? Genetic drift happens when the frequency of a gene changes in a population. Frequency of genes changes in a population. That change in frequency of genes in a population is called genetic drift. That's it. But what you have written is genes in population of successive generations. No, not in populations of successive generations. Not in populations of successive generations. Genetic drift can occur when frequency of genes will change. Now, this can be because of accidental factors. This can be because of accidental factors. Some accident has taken place which has reduced the frequency of a particular gene in a population. That can be one case. Another case can be that frequency of genes in a population can change due to accidental factors. It can also change as a result of certain other factors, like for example, due to some geographical barrier, certain groups of organisms with a particular gene have to move away, right? Certain groups of organisms with a particular gene have to move away from the population. That is also an example of genetic drift. So whenever the gene frequency changes, when the frequency of a particular gene in a population changes, that is genetic drift. Right? It need not be because of gamete formation. It need not be because of any other factor. It is simply because there is a frequency of gene changing in the population. For example, blue color beetles and red color beetles. Because of some accident, blue color beetles grow more because the red color beetles die. So although frequency of genes is changing, it is not that it is providing any survival advantage. It's just that the frequency of genes is changing, because of which there is genetic drift. Change in drift. There is a drift in the gene population. Right? So, Bazinga, I hope that's clear. Right? Oof, very good. Okay, the next doubt is by, I'll take up the next doubt, which is by Bazinga, okay, Samarth Hiraskar. And he has asked me, if a woman is using copper tea, will it help her to avoid STD? So, if a woman is using copper tea, will it help her in providing STD? No, it will not prevent STDs. I'll tell you why. Now, basically, how does copper tea work, right? Although this mechanism is not there in your textbook, but it's a very interesting mechanism. So let's try to understand. Basically, when we place copper tea in a woman's uterus, okay, when we place copper tea in a woman's uterus, like this is, you know how copper tea looks, it's made of copper, okay, and it's a T-shaped structure, copper tea. Now, basically what happens is, we are placing this copper tea in a woman's uterus. So what happens is, this copper tea releases certain copper ions. Okay, what does it do? It releases copper ions. Okay, so what is going to happen? It is going to release copper ions, and when copper ions are released, they prevent the implantation of zygote. In the uterus. Okay. I'll explain that now. Basically what happens is that the copper ions will prevent implantation of zygote in the uterus. So although fertilization has taken place, that means sperms have entered into the female's body. Remember this, my dear. Sperms have entered in the form of semen in the mother's body, but they have fertilized the egg also, but that fertilized egg has to be implanted in the uterus so that a fetus can develop, right? That implantation is prevented. So it does not allow implantation of zygote. If implantation is only not occurring, then fetus won't develop. Ultimately, there will be no pregnancy. But please note here, sexually transmitted diseases are transferred due to semen. Okay, and that is the fluid which is created carrying from the male to the female, carrying the sperms and secretions of the other glands. So basically, your semen is entering the female's body, right? So there can be infection, right? Infection can still be there because the semen can carry the infection, and this can go on to the female body and it cannot protect her from sexually transmitted diseases. So copper T can only prevent pregnancy, cannot prevent STD, right? So I hope that's clear. Samarth, your doubt is clear, right? So that is how that's how copper T works, and that is how copper T cannot prevent STDs, because still semen is entering the female's body. It can carry infection. This can lead to sexually transmitted diseases. It's not that it won't occur, right? So I hope Samarth, your doubt is clear. Next is I'll take up the mirror conventions a bit later. I'm just going to do the other things. Next is a student has to project. Okay, let's take this doubt now. This is a physics doubt. So I'm going to take up this physics doubt now. Now they're asking me a question. Samarth has asked me a question, and I think this is the third or fourth time he's pasted this question. So I'll just take that up now. A student has to project a 3 times magnified image of a candle flame on the screen. Okay, so 3 times magnified image, right? And it's going to be placed on a screen. So first try to analyze the first 2 words. They are saying that it is going to project a 3 times magnified image of candle flame on the screen. So one thing is that your magnification is 3 times magnified image, right? It is a 3 times magnified image, but it is going to be obtained on a screen. That means it has to be a real image, because only real image can be obtained on a screen. So real image can be obtained on a screen. It will be negative. Magnification will be -3. Because it is being obtained on a screen, it is going to be real and inverted. That is why it can be obtained on a screen, right? So that's the first part. This is what you can infer from the first line. If the distance between candle flame and the screen is 6 meters, distance between candle flame and screen is 6 meters, find the focal length of the lens, right? So first thing here, understand that it has to be what kind of lens? It has to be a convex lens. It cannot be concave, because convex lens only can give a real image. That is why it is convex lens. First thing. Next, they are saying that if the distance between candle flame and screen, distance between candle flame and screen is being given. Distance between candle flame and screen, that means V plus U value, right? V plus U has been given. This is coming out to be 6. Now V plus U value is 6. So they are asking us V plus U value, which is 6. We need to find the focal length of the lens. This is a good question. So V plus U is 6. Can we say V is equal to 6 minus U? V is equal to 6 minus U. Whenever you are taking variables, don't take the sign. Okay, one tip from me, whenever you take variables, don't take the sign. This is very important because sometimes it causes problems. Don't take the sign. So V equal to 6 minus U. You know magnification. That's it. So you know another formula here. M is equal to V by U. This is the lens, right? So M is equal to V by U. It is equal to -3. So V is equal to -3U. V is equal to -3U. V equal to 6 minus U. So 6 minus U equal to -3U. Right? 6 minus u equal to minus 3u. So 6 equal to minus 3u plus u, which is minus 2u. Therefore, u has to be what? Minus 3 meters. U has to be minus 3 meters. And can u be negative? It has to be negative. That means our calculation is correct. U is minus 3. Now similarly, use V. V is equal to 6 minus of minus 3, which is equal to 6 plus 3, which is equal to 9 meters. Image is formed 9 meters behind the lens. Right? So I hope that's clear. Now you know U, you know V, you can calculate F. 1 by V minus 1 by U is equal to 1 by F. So 1 by 9 plus 1 by 3, because minus minus becomes plus, is equal to 1 by F. Now solve it. You get 9, 1 plus 3 is equal to 1 by F. F is equal to 9 by 4 meters. Now it is going to be whatever you can calculate. So Samarth, is that clear? Right? I hope that's clear, Samarth. Any kind of doubt? It's a good question. Right? So I hope Samarth that's clear, and please let me know if the answer is correct, because it's a good question, so I may have made a mistake. Just go through the answer. If it's correct, please let me know. Otherwise, if it's not, then also let me know. So now they are saying, okay, that's the question. Now learn how the eye is highly evolved and is adapted. You can also talk about dinosaur bird evolution. You can talk about evolution of wild cabbage. Yes, Bazinga knows everything, yeah. He's intelligent. He's very nice. So any other doubts? Anyone else who asked me a doubt? Because actually this, I can't scroll up. Oh yeah, I can scroll up. So if a woman is using copper T, I explained the sign convention. I'll explain. Spore formation, Samarth, please go over spore formation in my videos. Okay, it's there clearly mentioned how spore formation takes place. Please go over my video for spore formation. And student has to project. Okay, I explained that. Positive, negative. Okay, sign convention, I'll explain it. Meaning of hypocotyle and epicotyle. Okay, Mr. Spartan, I need to check that because I don't quite remember it. Okay, I need to check that. Okay, answer is plus 1.125. Yes, so 9 by 4, please calculate 9 by 4. What is 9 by 4? 4 2s. Oh, it's coming 2. 1.125. Okay, so let me just check that question. You're saying 1.125. Yes, focal length will pakka be positive, but 1.125. Yes, I'll need to check that, Mr. Spartan. Hypocotyle and epicotyle, I don't quite remember. I'll just go over that, and I'll give you the answer in one of your comments. Just put it as a comment in this video, and I'll surely give you the answer. F is 9.1. Okay, same for you, Samarth. I'll just go over this question once more, and I'll let you know, okay, in one of your comments. Surely. Right? I hope that's okay. Because this is not 9 by 4 isn't 1.125. So, okay, just give me some time. I'll surely answer the question to you. Just post it as a comment in one of the videos. I'll just go over this question, and I'll need some time. Can you give a list on what is basically going to come in periodic table and classification? Okay, so periodic classification, very easy topic. Very easy topic. Periodic table, basically in periodic classification, there are 3 main things in this chapter. Okay, 3 main things. If you are clear in these 3 main things, khalas, you are clear in this. 3 main things. Number 1, the older forms of classification. Older forms of classification. Now, older forms of classification basically means your traditional forms of classification. It talks about the classifications on the basis of atomic mass. So that is the Dobrenia classification, the Newland's classification, and also Mendeleev's classification. So these 3 classifications come under older forms of classification. Just be clear with this, what they basically meant and what their defects were. Okay, Mendeleev's defects and achievements, Dobrenia's defect, and Newland's defect. Okay, so please, that's important. The second important part is modern periodic table. In modern periodic table, basically you need to learn the modern periodic law and also how placement of elements takes place in modern periodic table, etc, etc. All that you need to explain. Modern periodic table needs to be explained. Modern periodic table needs to be understood. Now this can come in the form of location of an element. It can be what group and period tell about the element. So group tells us about the valence electrons, period tells us about the number of shells. Okay, and the vice versa. It can work like that also. Modern periodic law, Moseley's periodic law, atomic number concept. Okay, Bohr-Bury rule for finding how many elements are there in a period. Okay, although I don't find that method very accurate, that's why I did not discuss it in my video. But still, just go through it because it's an NCERT concept. So older forms of classification, modern periodic table. The third thing you need to understand in this chapter is periodic trends, which I have explained as periodic law. In your textbook, I really find it very vague. I've gone over the NCERT textbook. I feel that periodic trends is very vague. They've just given you words and there's nothing you can understand really. So I've tried to give you some methods to find trends, right? I've tried to, because you know what they've given in NCERT is that they've given you a rule. So you just mug up that rule. Please don't do that. I don't feel that's correct. You should go class by class. There is a method. Atomic size. How atomic size decreases when we go along a period? It is because the effective nuclear charge is increasing. Hence the size of the atom decreases because there is compression in the atom. Right? So in this way, there are some methods to learn it. Right? So just don't go as by the textbook. They've just given you things. Try to understand the logic behind it. Then it becomes very easy to remember the periodic trends. And I must say in this chapter, periodic trends is crucial because this is the most important part of this chapter. Periodic trends. They may not ask you anything from classification, but they'll surely ask you something from periodic trends. So please be clear with periodic trends. Very, very important. Electronegativity, valence electrons, electron affinity, ionization energy, atomic size, metallic, non-metallic character, placements of metals and non-metals. Yeah, that's it, I think. So that's the thing. So that's all with periodic classification. I hope Bazinga, that's clear. I've cleared the doubt. And load, what Bazinga has told you is absolutely correct. Just go over those three things: the complexity and evolution, then bird and dinosaur evolution, and finally wild cabbage evolution. Three things which are there in evolution by stages. Please just go over that. Sizumi, what is the effect of DNA copying which is not perfectly accurate? When there's no perfect accuracy in DNA copying. DNA copying is a slightly inaccurate process because it's a highly biochemical process, highly complex process. So it leads to certain inaccuracies in the progeny DNA. Now these inaccuracies provide variation in the progeny. These variations enable the organism and the progeny to survive better in a changing environment. Right? So that's the effect of DNA copying with inaccuracies. Okay, Himanshu Girdhar. You are a vegetarian and your friend is non-vegetarian. Whose habit gives more energy? Please tell the answer. I think this is something from our environment. And to be honest, I hate the last two chapters in biology. That is, they are not even biology, they are ecology. Our environment and natural resources. That's why I have not made videos on them because, you know, I'm disgusted by those chapters. I can't really teach those chapters also. So, vegetarian and your friend is non-vegetarian, whose habit gives more energy? Please tell the answer. Whose habit gives more energy? Now here you need to, I think, as per my knowledge, I think you need to go for the 10% rule. Now you know that in vegetarians, your producers, yeah, you know, in a food chain what happens? First there are producers, then there are the consumers, right? Then first comes the primary consumers, then we have the secondary consumers, and then we have the tertiary consumers, right? Now basically what is happening? If your friend is a non-vegetarian, what is he doing? He's eating producers and tertiary consumers both. If you are only a vegetarian, you're only eating the producer. So vegetarian will eat only producer, but producer and tertiary consumer and secondary consumer together, these consumers, if you're eating, then you're a non-vegetarian. So as per 10% rule, what happens? Which trophic level has highest amount of energy? Which trophic level has highest amount of energy? The first trophic level, because producers have the highest amount of energy available, right, from sunlight, and because of that 10% rule, only 10% gets transferred and the least amount of energy is with the tertiary consumer in a food chain. That is why we say producer has highest amount of energy, and since if the producer has highest amount of energy and you're eating the producer only, Then vegetarian, maybe vegetarian. But see, now think in another way. Everyone is saying vegetarian, but think in another way. The non-vegetarian is eating producers also. Is it that non-vegetarian only eats non-veg? He only eats consumers? No. He also eats producers. So he's getting the double amount of energy. He's getting energy from producers also. He's getting energy from tertiary consumers and secondary consumers also, right? So it can be non-vegetarian also, right? Is it not? Yeah, so this question is a bit vague, and CBSE, you can guarantee, take my guarantee, CBSE will not ask you such questions. I'm telling you seriously, they'll not ask you such questions, right? If you trust me, please, they won't ask you such questions. Okay, so it can be non-vegetarian also, right? Because they are eating producers also and consumers also. Producers also they are eating ना. अब कोई non-veg है तो वो सिर्फ non-veg खाता है नहीं. They take producers and tertiary consumers and secondary consumers also, right? So they are eating lot of organisms which have varying amount of energy. So maybe it can be non-veg also, right? But they won't ask you such questions, I can guarantee. Okay, so any other doubt? Any other doubt? Effect of DNA copying, what's coming in periodic table, I explained that. Is there any other kind of doubt which anyone has? Okay. Meaning of hypocotyle. Okay, I'll go through that. Okay, so is there any other doubt? Okay. Should I go over the mirror conventions now? The sign conventions in mirror and lens? Right? Should I go over that? I'll just go over now the mirror conventions. Let's clear this. So I'm going to clear it now. Now let's go over mirror conventions. No, this question is vague. As I said, this question is it's extremely vague. I really don't understand this question. That's why. Okay, so Anu actually okay. What's octane rating? Octane rating? I'm not too sure what's octane rating. I need to check that. Anyway. No, actually that's not quite right. The amount of food. Yeah, if he's eating more kinds of foods, he's eating producers also, na? He's not just eating a consumer, he's eating producers, consumers, so he's getting energy from various sources. I don't support any kind of this question will never be asked, I'm sure. When he asks more kinds of foods. Yes, that's why I'm saying I'm not too sure, and this question is extremely vague. They will never ask you, at least from examination point of view, this will never come. I can guarantee you that, okay? Because I have gone over 7-8 years papers, they have never asked such kinds of questions. They always ask questions which are of general knowledge from this chapter. Okay? They will never ask you, because this is a thing of perspective. Some people can say vegetarians are more healthy, but some people can say non-vegetarians are more healthy. But vegetarians can be more healthy because non-veg can cause problems in the body. So this is a very vague question. You cannot just ask such questions. What type of questions may come from carbon and its compounds? Okay, recycling of waste material help in ecological balance. If you recycle waste materials again and again, that means there will be less garbage disposal. And because of this, what happens? There is less land pollution, there is less land degradation. And since there is less land degradation, the soil remains fertile, the soil remains good, right? So in this way, it maintains ecological balance. Okay, next one is, how does recycling, okay, I did that. Sir, what type of questions may come from carbon compounds? Carbon compounds, anything. Carbon compounds. I mean to say this carbon and its compounds. This chapter is like the most important chapter you can get in 10th standard. I mean, if you are taking, I'm assuming everyone is getting everyone is taking chemistry next year. If you don't understand this chapter, I'm sorry, you'll have lots of problems in 11th and 12th. Very important. You can get homologous series, you can get functional groups, you can get covalent bonding, you can get why carbon does not form ionic bonds, you can get the properties of carbon compounds, you can get carbon reactions, you can get IUPAC nomenclature, you can get soap and detergent, So I've already found the 9 types of questions. So you can get many questions from this chapter. This chapter is extremely crucial. Everything needs to be learned. Don't miss out anything. Yes, everything. Reactions, oxidation, addition, substitution, whatever. Every kind of reaction can come. Getting equation right, under what conditions do ethane get converted to ethyl alcohol? Ethane cannot get converted to ethyl alcohol. Ethane cannot get converted to ethyl alcohol. Even acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is ethanol. You cannot convert it. Ethane is a saturated hydrocarbon. Ethane is a saturated hydrocarbon. You cannot, right? You cannot really react with it, right? No, carbon compounds doesn't carry the most marks. Heredity, no. Reproduction carries the most marks, 18 marks. Yeah, you cannot convert ethane to any of this. Ethane is unreactive. It can only undergo combustion. That's it. Combustion and substitution. That's it. No other reaction. Ethane and saturated hydrocarbon can only go combustion or substitution. No other reaction. Right. Anything else? Any other doubt? Is there any other kind of doubt which anyone else has? I'm most welcome to clear those. Any other doubts? How does recycling? I just told you, na. I just told you. See, recycling of waste materials basically means that you are using recycling. You are using materials again and again by utilizing energy, converting them to different substances for different purposes. Right? It is different purposes, or for different purposes you are doing it. Now, when you are recycling waste by using energy, converting it into different substances, it basically means that you are not simply dumping waste. You are using it again and again in different ways. In this way, there is less land degradation. Land degradation reduces because you are not simply dumping waste. Land degradation will reduce. If land degradation will reduce, automatically your soil will also remain good in quality and there will be no land degradation. In this way, if land degradation is not there, fertility of the soil remains, there is no ecological imbalance, and hence, due to no land degradation, ultimately all plants and animals will prosper, there is ecological balance. Right? That's the thing. Accumulation of variation. Accumulation of variations, basically what happens? What happens in accumulation variation is, suppose you have organism 1, right? This organism 1 is reproducing. So suppose this organism 1 reproduces into 2 and produces 2 offsprings, this one and this one. Now during the reproduction process, there will be inaccuracies in DNA copying. Now if there are inaccuracies in DNA copying, what will happen? There will be variations created. So this may gain a different kind of body design, and this may gain a new kind of characteristic. Right? So the colors are like, they are depicting the different characteristics, new characteristics it's gaining. So after variation, they are gaining different characteristics. So this organism has a new characteristic, this organism has a new characteristic. Now further, they also reproduce. So if they reproduce, what will happen? Again, the progeny, because of variations and errors in DNA copying, will gain new characteristics, minute variations. So basically, it can be like this, and the whatever blue outer covering, and then again there can be another characteristic which the organism is gaining, and that blue outer covering. Similarly, this can undergo the same thing. So there may be a new characteristic and it is gaining a new covering outside, and similarly new characteristic and then same covering outside. So in this way, there are different characteristics which are coming in the progeny. I explained, this is the first, I explained it already, absolute refractive index. So in this way, variations have accumulated. See, body design of this organism 1 and body design of this This organism, they are completely different. Okay, this is 3, not 2. This is 3. So the third generation and first generation body designs are different because variations have accumulated over generations and generations. Over generations and generations, variations have accumulated, differences in body design have accumulated because of errors in DNA copying, and in case of sexual reproduction, variation will be even more because of combination of genetic material from two different parents. So in this way, variation has accumulated over generations as a result of errors in DNA copying. Right? So this is what we call accumulation of variations over generations of reproducing organisms. Clear? I hope whoever asked that is clear. Samarth, is that clear? Okay, so Lord is saying, who all agree that the board exam, Hindi, passage and poem were difficult? Okay. I went over the Indian set, okay, and now I'm telling you what I felt. Okay, I went over the Indian set. Indian set was okay. It was not that tough. It was fine. But the foreign set where I give the paper because I live abroad, the foreign set was exceptionally tough. Okay, because there was not a single word which you could understand. So Hindi set was okay. Okay, anything else? Any other doubt? Is there any other kind of doubt? Is there any doubt? I'm waiting. Advantages of vegetative propagation. Very important question. Now, I think I missed this out in my lecture. I'm really, really sorry. I realized that I missed this out in my lecture. I did not explain this in my lecture. So, advantages of vegetative propagation. Now, there are 3 advantages given in your textbook. I'll give you 4. Okay. The first advantage is that it is a quicker method. It is a quicker method of growing plants than seed germination. So basically seed germination takes some time, but vegetative propagation is a much quicker method than seed generation. Okay, it's a much quicker method, much easier method, much quicker than seed germination, than growing seeds, right? Next one is, it is a quicker method of growing plants. That's the first method. The second thing is that the progeny are genetically similar to parents. Now basically sometimes in vegetative propagation we vegetatively propagate some organism. We propagate it because we want similar characteristics in the progeny as there are in the parents. Exactly similar characteristics. So in that case, this vegetative propagation is very useful because the progeny are exactly genetically similar and are complete clones of the parents. They retain the characteristics of the parent. Next advantage of vegetative propagation is that it can be used to grow plants that have lost the ability to bear seeds. So for example, banana, rose, coconut, some of them have lost the ability to bear seeds. So sometimes we use this method because it can be used to grow plants vegetatively without the use of seeds. And these are the NCERT advantages. There's one more advantage which you can write. It is an economical method. Okay, it's not very expensive. It is a pretty economical method. You can use it in your home also. Pretty much very good method. Right? So these are the 3 advantages of vegetative propagation. Right? Mendel's 3 laws. Yes. So Mendel's 3 laws, I've explained them in my monohybrid and dihybrid cross lectures. Please go over that once. I think it should be pretty much clear there. Oh yeah. Sizomi, you're right. Hypocotyl is this part of the stem of an embryo plant beneath the stalks of the seed and directly above the root. Yes, that's hypocotyl. And epicotyl is hypocotyl is the upper part. Epicotyl is, I think, the middle of the lower part, outer part. Right? That's epicotyl. Speciation you will never get for 5 marks. I'm telling you, 5 mark questions are always in parts. You will never get one complete question for 5 marks. We won't ask. What are soaps chemically? Soaps are chemically, they are sodium or potassium salts of long chain fatty acids, yes, or higher fatty acids or higher carboxylic acids. Yes, correct. Dev Dogra is correct. And you can draw the structure also if you want the soap structure. I've explained it in my lecture also. I'll give it here also. The soap structure, basically, there is a long hydrocarbon part, and in that hydrocarbon part, you attach a carbon here. Then there is an oxygen here. Then there is O minus Na plus. Then this can be replaced by potassium also. This is soap molecule structure. Okay. Yes, this is your soap molecule structure. This is your hydrocarbon part, which is your water repelling part. It is hydrophobic. And this is your ionic part, which is hydrophilic. Right? Will there be upgradation for class 10 CBSE? Yes, there will be. If you get your scholastic grades, there will be upgradation. Most probably. Okay, I'll explain it now. Mirror convention, sign convention. Okay, Samarth, the laws, please go over the explanation of the laws is there in my lectures. The laws, Lode has already mentioned. But is DDT mentioned anywhere in the textbook? No, DDT is not there. DDT is actually a pesticide which leads to biological magnification. But DDT is as such not mentioned in the textbook. The formula, the full form of DDT I'll give you. DDT stands for dichloro diphenyl trichloroethane. This is the full form of DDT. It's a pesticide which is used for crop cultivation. It's not there in the textbook, but for biological magnification you can mention it. And it's not there in the lab manual. No, I don't think so. No. Okay, maybe you have another lab manual, but we don't have any experiment on this, so I don't know where you got it from. Okay, yes, Bazinga, I'll explain the mirror convention now. Now we are getting to mirror convention. Let us now do the mirror convention and the sign convention, Cartesian sign convention. Very, very direct and easy. Basically, I'm going to start with a mirror, with a concave mirror, then I will do with lens. Okay. Okay, maybe you have the NCRT one. I have a different lab manual maybe there. So I'm going to explain with concave mirror the sign conventions. They are similar for lens and mirror both, right? But here for explanation, we are taking concave mirror, right? Whatever I'm going to explain here applies for lens also. Okay, so don't worry. Now, if we take the principal axis, this will be my pole and this will be my mirror. Now, in Cartesian sign conventions, we basically, follow a convention which is similar to the XY axis, Cartesian plane. Structure of DDT, I don't know. Don't ask. So, no, just kidding. It's way too complex. You can't understand it also. It's not a normal organic compound. Now, this is your O. And if you look into the sign conventions, it is basically based on the Cartesian plane. So if we go on the right hand side, the Cartesian plane on the x-axis, if we go on the right hand side, what is it? It is nothing but the positive x-axis, right? It is nothing but the positive x-axis. Now, detergents are not usually biodegradable. Okay, Samarth, detergents are not biodegradable. Yes, they are non-biodegradable. Mostly, usually they are non-biodegradable. So, positive x-axis on the right hand side, and as we go on the left hand side, there is the negative negative x-axis. Now, if you use this convention here, if we are going on to the right hand side, That is, if my image is on the right hand side and I'm measuring the distance between the mirror and image or lens and image, so that distance going towards the right hand side will be positive distance. Okay, it will be positive distance. If you are going on to the left hand side, then you will have a negative distance. That is why we say that object distance is by default negative, because whatever ray diagram you are drawing, the object will always be in front of the mirror and will be on the left side, right? That's why we always take it by default negative. So negative distance. Left hand side always negative distance, right hand side always positive distance, right? So that's, let's just compare. We are comparing this with our Cartesian plane, so it will be very easy. Going on to the left, it's negative. So always when we are taking a distance which is going towards the left, that's negative. If you're going from the mirror to the right, so that's always a positive distance. Now let's take the y-axis. You know that the positive y-axis is this upper part. So when it's facing upright, when it is bold and beautiful, yeah, keep it, it's easy to remember it like this. When you're bold and beautiful, when you're bold and strong and upright, that means you're positive. When you're bold and strong and upright, that means you're positive. When you're down and depressed, that means you're negative. Isn't it easy to remember? When you're bold and upright, that means you're positive. But if you're down and depressed, that means you're negative. Right? So let's use that method here. Now suppose something is placed upright. If something is placed upright, then it is going to have a positive height. Okay, let me write it properly. It is going to have a positive height. When you are upright, strong, bold and upright, that means you are positive. When you are down and depressed like this, then your height will also be negative. When you're down and depressed, you're going to be negative. Right? So this is the new Cartesian sign convention for mirrors and lenses. Clear? So I hope that's clear. Whoever had a doubt in this is absolutely clear. When your object is upright, object distance by default negative, object height by default positive, because it's always bold and beautiful. But if it is down and low, which means it's a real image, then it's down and low, it's inverted, down and depressed, that means it's negative. If it's a virtual image, bold and beautiful again, but again it cannot be obtained on a screen, so it's a positive height. Clear? Any doubt? Okay, now I've got some more doubts here. Yeah, detergents are not biodegradable, Samarth. Please keep that in mind. You cannot say most of the detergents are non-biodegradable. Most of them. Now there may be exceptions, but detergents are mostly non-biodegradable. Okay. Natural and artificial selection. Natural selection takes place when nature selects traits with organisms with certain traits to survive. So when natural selection takes place, natural selection, it basically means when nature selects organisms. So when nature is selecting organisms with certain traits to survive in a changing environment, then we say natural selection is taking place. Nature selects organisms with favorable traits to survive. But if you have, oh, where did it go? Yes. If you have artificial selection is slightly different in the sense that here, what happened to my stylus? Artificial selection, if you take, then in artificial selection, artificial traits or organisms with favorable traits are artificially selected or are manually selected. So we human beings artificially select organisms with particular traits. Okay, so that is artificial selection. When nature is not selecting, when we are selecting. Example, wild cabbage. We wanted to get different varieties of wild cabbage. We ourselves selected them. Nature selects organisms to survive with better body design. That's natural selection. Right? And Sandeep Rao's doubt is absolutely correct. Sandeep Rao's explanation is absolutely correct. You cannot equate, because it is basically the shaping and creation of diversity. Absolutely right. It is not a pinnacle. Human being is not a pinnacle. Can survive. Bacteria can survive even in the toughest conditions. Absolutely. Then what else is there? Okay, so I have several doubts. I need to now go over back. Okay. So using contraceptive, the question was, someone asked a doubt that contraceptives, right? How does the use of contraceptive method help the economy of a family and health? Yes, because again children will be less, and sexually transmitted diseases will not be there, and etc. all that, right? Sandeep is prepared, I can say that. Absolutely. And I think he'll do really well. What else? Central dogma of life. Now, Samarth, that's 12th? No. 11th or 12th standard topic. Central dogma of life is a 12th standard topic. I'll just tell you what it is. I don't know if you'll understand it now, but I'll tell you. James Watson. No, not Watson. Watson-Crick. You know Watson-Crick model of DNA? Watson-Crick model of DNA was created, and out of these scientists, it was one of the scientists who gave a basic law, a kind of process, and he said that this is called the central dogma of life. He said that DNA replicates to form RNA, and this RNA is used to produce proteins. This process he called the central dogma of life. DNA gets processed into RNA is used to produce proteins. This process is called central dogma of life. In this DNA to RNA translation, DNA to RNA processing, production from DNA to RNA transfer, this is called transcription. Okay, this is called transcription. RNA to protein production, this is called translation. And sometimes from RNA DNA is formed, right? Sometimes from RNA we form DNA, and this is called reverse transcription. And reverse transcription takes place in retrovirus. It's a kind of virus, retrovirus. Right? Again, it's a 12th standard topic. Don't really go into much of detail of this, but it's an interesting topic. This process, which was proposed by Watson-Crick, this is called the central dogma of life. Okay, central dogma of life. Right? I hope that's clear. Now the lab manual. How can I revise the lab manual? Actually, it's not easy to revise the lab manual. I can only give you tips on how to prepare the lab manual. Now in lab manual, I'll just go over what practicals you have. Basically, lab manual has been given to you. You need to learn from the practical. You need to do the practical and learn from it. But the problem is our schools don't do practicals properly. It's like the teacher does all the stuff, students just watch there, and really they don't learn anything out of that, and then they have to give exams. That time they are clueless in what to do in practicals. That's a big problem, right? Isn't it? Don't you all agree with this? Everyone needs to agree with the fact that our practicals are not correct and they need to be done in a better method. Then only students will be able to understand practicals. Otherwise, it's just useless. So now, when we do lab manual, first of all, you need to make sure that you are clear with the experiment which is going on, right? Try to understand the experiment. Try to understand what we are trying to do. For example, let me look into the practicals we have. In chemistry, we have some 3 practicals, I believe. There is properties of acetic acid or ethanoic acid. Properties of acetic acid. This is something which you can do even with your general knowledge, right? If you know its chemical nature, you know how it reacts with sodium bicarbonates, sodium carbonates, how it reacts with sodium, how it reacts with carbonates and bicarbonates. So when you know all these basic things, you can do this easily. The second thing is saponification reaction, right? When we do saponification, that is alkaline hydrolysis of an ester to produce soap, right? And this alkaline hydrolysis of ester, here we're using oil. In our lab manual, it's all of oil, right? About the vegetable oils. We are using some vegetable oil to produce soap. And then the last experiment is the experiment on hard and soft water. So which water is hard, which water is soft? Whichever water has magnesium and calcium salts in maximum content, that will be hard water. Whichever has less content, it will be slightly less hard water. Whichever has no content, it will be soft water, right? And then soap will not work with hard water, it will only work with soft water. If you add sodium chloride to soft water and then use soap, it will increase the precipitation reaction, it will increase the foaming effect, right? So that's with your chemistry. Basically, I can't really do anything in practicals. In practicals, you need to go through. Yesterday, I hope you all know about Divyam Gupta. Divyam Gupta was doing a lecture yesterday. Temporarily and permanent hard water. Temporary and permanent hard water is, yeah, okay. You can, no, permanent hard water. This won't, okay, fine, anyway. Divyam Gupta was doing a lecture yesterday. Yesterday he was doing a live stream on his channel and he was saying that, I was there and he was saying that in practicals you have to really just prepare it yourself. Even any lecturer can't do anything about that, right? I'm really sorry. I've tried my best. You need to go over everything. Try to understand the experiment that is going on. Okay, can become hard water is mentioned in the lab manual. Yes, rainwater can become hard water. Rainwater can become hard water because there are some gases present and there are certain salts present on the ground and the land. Because of that, there can be dissolutions, there can be solutions formed, there can be hard water formed, salts can get mixed in the rainwater. So in this way, rainwater can be formed. It can be hard. But as such, in your NCERT textbook also, rainwater has been called soft water. I really don't know why, but even if you see the experiment mentioned in your NCERT textbook, there they're saying if you don't have soft water, you can take rainwater. So that basically means rainwater is soft water. So that's it, right? So that's with chemistry. Physics, you have focal length of convex and concave lens, prism dispersion, diffraction through glass slab. Yes, magnesium carbonate, percolation of it in the rocks. Yes, correct. When it gets percolated, when it gets stuck in the rocks, that times the different salts get dissolved in it. That time it becomes hard. So that is chemistry. Then physics, you have focal length of convex and concave lens and concave mirror and convex lens. Then you have dispersion of prism, the dispersion in glass prism. Then you have refraction in glass slab. So again, that all needs to be gone through. You need to really go over the things, try to understand what all is happening. That's all you can really do. Biology, in your textbook, there are analogy and homology of plant parts and some organs. That is a bit difficult to learn because there are some names specifically there. But again, if you go read over it, you need to really read over it. And even if you go in the exams, they'll ask you pretty basic. As far as I've seen exam papers, they ask very, very basic homologous and analogous organs. So just go over it once. Be sure that you know a bit of it at least. Same thing, biology, then you have binary fission, binary fission and budding in amoeba and yeast respectively. That is very, very important. Please, please, please be clear with it, right? You need to go over it. The diagrams of that are important. Diagrams of amoeba, diagrams of amoeba undergoing binary fission, and then diagrams of budding also. All steps and stages. Please be clear with that also, right? And then finally we have, I think, embryo and dicot seed and cross section of that. So please be clear with that. Going over the parts of the dicot seed, epicotyle, hypocotyle, someone mentioned, hilum, micropyle, seed coat, cotyledons, plumule, radicle. Very, very important. Please go over that also once. Right? So I hope that's absolutely clear, and I think I'll be ending it here now. I hope you all are well prepared. I hope your doubts are absolutely clear, and I actually have something to attend to right now. So I hope everything was absolutely clear. I've tried my very best to teach science to all of you. Although I'm not a very good teacher, I personally feel, but still I try my very best because I feel teaching is a very good method of learning as well, and I really like teaching. So thank you very much. And basically, I myself am a class 10 student. And I also have board exams tomorrow, so please wish me all the best. And also there'll be one more thing that I've started making mathematics lectures, revision lectures. So I'm trying my very best to try to make them very good. They are not actual lectures, but they are just good questions which I collect from each chapter. So please go over that also once. English, I don't really make videos, so I won't be there for the English exam. So I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you understood everything I taught. If you still have any kind of doubt, please come to the comment section below. Yes, thank you, Sandeep. Thank you. And one half of the concave lens covered with black paper. Can such a lens produce an image of a complete object placed at a distance of 30 centimeters from the lens? How variant genotype are found? What do you mean by variant genotype? Variant genotype. Maybe it's hybrid. Basically, if you cross two species of two organisms of different varieties and you cross them together, then there will be variant genotypes created. This is called hybridization. Okay, sometimes if you cross two species which are pretty much similar, so that they are slightly similar, if you cross them together, then at that time a hybrid will be formed. A new species can be formed. So this is a kind of artificial speciation. It is called hybridization. So in this way, a variant genotype can be formed. Right? So I hope you all will do really well. And Shizomi, one half of a concave lens of focal length 10 centimeters is covered with a black paper. One half is covered. Can such a lens produce an image of a complete object placed at a distance? Yes, it can form an image. Please, yes, absolutely, it can form an image. But the difference will be that the intensity of the image will decrease. The intensity of the image will decrease. So because there is a formula that the intensity of the image is directly proportional to the square of the aperture. Now you know what the aperture is. It is the diameter of the reflecting surface. So basically, if you are covering the concave lens, that means if you're taking a concave lens and you are covering half of it, so that means you're taking black and you're covering half of it. Suppose, okay, I'm taking it as white, so you're covering this part. This whole part is being covered. So if you're covering up this whole part, only this part is remaining. Still, because of this part, refraction will take place, image can form. Image can form, but intensity of the image will decrease. Right? Image can form. Now that's clear? So with this, I'll conclude my live session for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope all your doubts are clear. If you still have any kind of doubt, please post it in the comment section in any of my videos and I'll surely answer it. Alright, thank you very much. Goodbye. Stay healthy, stay smart, eat well and have a good paper tomorrow. And once you come back, just put a comment on one of my videos saying how your paper went. Right? And any question you found tough, you can really clear that question up. Right? So thank you very much. Goodbye. Stay healthy, stay smart, and do keep studying. Bye-bye.